I'm delighted to have Danny back with me from Team USA. How are you?
I'm so happy. This is super exciting. This is such good racing today, and I think we're about to see even more right now.
I think so for sure. So 18 crews lining up. We had 3 heats earlier on, and 6 crews made it through to the A final from those. So we see some big names out there today. So we see Yuri, who was with me for a good few races there. He's lined up number 3 there on our screens. Keelan Mannix of Ireland, another one to watch there. Charles Cousins, Chris Back. He was unfortunate there in the men's double. They broke an oar in the men's double a little while ago, himself and Corey. But here he is in the single. Joel Nakarinen as well, winning a medal in the men's double a little while ago. Very quick turnaround for a lot of these athletes here today.
Charles Cousins is also in there. He came in 3rd in the mixed double earlier today.
Yes, he is definitely one to watch, a medalist from last year. So here we can see Chris Back. He was 2nd last year, but without Adrian Miramon Quiroga, the reigning world champion from last year. He's in a great position to get himself back on the podium. So 2 minutes to go, as we can see there. The 2 balls in the air on the boat there, that signals that there is 2 minutes to go. It's a tricky couple of minutes here because you're trying to stay on course, aren't you? You don't want to get ahead of those starting boys. You're trying to keep your boat straight. You're also trying not to fill it with too much water.
Yes, and you can see kind of like, I don't know if you can see, it's a little stormy out there, looking a little more cloudy than it was earlier. So the weather does seem to be getting just a tiny bit more chaotic. You can see that in the waves too. They're bopping around a little bit more than they were earlier today. There's Joel Nakarinen from Finland.
Yes, the medalist from a little while ago. He's raced in lots of categories, the men's double, the mixed double, the single.
Yeah, last year he was in 4 events at the Endurance Championships.
Yes. And then we are also seeing, so Chris Back seems to be holding back a little bit, but I'm sure he'll take off right in the middle of them.
It is a strategy at the start line to turn your boat sideways so that you give yourself a little bit more room. So it looks like Finland and New Zealand are taking that strategy, making sure they have enough room that they need.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's 200 meters of space, and of course with the solo boats there's a lot more space to move around. But at the same time, it's really important that you're not left behind anyone at all. So that's what we could see those rowers doing, getting themselves nice and sideways to take up lots of space. So we're into the final minute here now.
As soon as that ball drops, that last ball, that's the start of the race, and you'll see everyone get, and there we go.
Here we go. So nice start here by all crews. We can see Joel Nakarinen of Finland here on our screen.
This is a great start. You can see him breathing heavy, his cheeks puffing out. Love that.
Yeah, it's always important to get or go off hard here at the start. So we're seeing kind of the leading boats. It's interesting that over the right hand side of our screen, it's kind of the leaders of the heats, we'll say, all bunched up together on the right hand side there.
And you can see on the left side of the screen there was a little bit more waves, so that might have something to do with it. Otherwise, that's quite a coincidence.
Absolutely, and we're seeing there, you can see the boats disappearing and reappearing here on our screens, just showing how kind of challenging. Of course, there'll be that wash from the ship that we saw earlier. There's another one passing them now, so those washes will be coming in towards the shoreline. At the moment, New Zealand 01, so that is the young rower Finlay Hamill there, 22-year-old. He won his heat earlier on. He's pushing himself into that lead, trying to make a mark here now, followed in by Italy 02, currently sitting in 2nd position, so that is Gabrielle Laconsole, finishing 5th last year, just outside medal positions.
New Zealand won. Hamill Finlay had the fastest time of all of the heats. It's hard to say what the weather conditions were for those, but he seems to be leading right here, and that's not a coincidence, probably.
I don't think so, no. Then Joel back in 3rd position. At the moment, it is Lithuania in 4th. They finished well in the heat as well. Chris Back currently back in 5th. So we saw him kind of hanging back in the heat earlier on today as well, and then he kind of started to make a move. So I wonder if that's his strategy again today.
He did have 2 races earlier, so like that could have something to do with it right now, but he does have a lot of strategy in his head. He's a very strategic rower, and I'm sure that everything he's doing out here is very purposeful. You can see these waves. You can see their bows moving up and down. The further up the bow goes, the harder it is for them to maintain speed. So keeping that bow down through these waves to cut through them is going to be a big strategy. And if you see that, you can pay attention to the bows.
And we can see there Chris is trying to work that as best he can with the big lie back. We saw that in his heat earlier on as well, trying to push the weight into the back of the boat. And it seems to be working because he seems to be starting to move up a little bit here now. Still looking quite calm. I'm sure, there's a lot of racing to go here now. And he knows there's plenty of space to catch up with those leading boats. At the moment, though, it is still New Zealand leading it out ahead of Italy 2, Finland 1. So Joel is currently in third. Italy 1 then currently in 4th position. We saw a great heat earlier from David Mumolo. He won his heat. He was in Paris earlier on this summer as a reserve. He raced in the reserve races, just missing out on a place on the team. He's currently in 4th position. Lithuania then in 5th, and Chris back then in 6th.
You can see some quite a difference in stroke right here between this green boat, that is New Zealand here, at a bit of a higher stroke rate than the rest of the crews, the rest of the boats.
Yeah, and we're actually seeing so much traffic. I feel like there's more traffic out on the water right now compared to other races. So we're feeling the effects of that, those washes. You can see them there in the background. But as I say that, Italy won now, David Mumolo, moving up alongside Joel Nakarinen. So it's going back and forth between the two of them for 3rd and 4th position at the moment. But starting to pull away a little bit now as they come up towards that 1K mark in this 4K course. So Finlay Hamill of New Zealand Rowing leading out. Similar style to Chris, slow stroke, controlled, really big lie back.
Yeah, long through the water can be definitely an effective strategy. As we've said many times before today already, getting to this first buoy is going to be really crucial in terms of your placement throughout the rest of the race. People who are there for the first bit are going to have a little bit of an easier time staying ahead of the pack.
Absolutely. So New Zealand there still leading out from Italy 0-2. Italy 1 then in 3rd position, but Joel is still very much there. It's still going back and forth. I am wondering what happened with Keelan Mannix of Ireland. He seemed to have fallen back quite a bit there. I can't see him on my screen, but going by the GPS, he has fallen off track really at this stage of the race. Chris now moving into that 5th position. Lithuania going back a little bit. They were up in that leading pack. They're back to 8th now at the moment. Great Britain 0-1, so that's Charles Cousins. He's back in 9th position. Again, surprising, I suppose. He was on the podium last year, finishing in 3rd positions, but there's a lot of new faces, a lot of new rowers here that they don't know what they're like. A lot of these didn't compete last year. Yeah,
there's a lot of new rowers for sure, but there's also, it's definitely technically a different regatta. There's having heats and finals in the same day is going to be really difficult. It's going to change a lot of strategies, and it's going to affect some rowers differently than others. Also, some of these athletes, a lot of them actually are doubling up in events, so having more than 2 races in one day is going to be very challenging.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that. At least with crews like the women's solo and the women's quad, they had their heats yesterday, so at least they had about 24 hours of a break, whereas these had their heats earlier today, so really not much time to recover. So we're gone around that first mark now, so 1400 meters into this race, so they're heading out further east now to come into the sharp turn. So it is still New Zealand 1 and then Italy 2. So Gabrielle Lonconsole still holding off the challenge from David Mumolo. Joel Nakarinen back in 4th. Then France 1, Yvan Beauvais still there in touching distance. It's getting quite close here, but everyone's being really smart at this stage. I think they've gone around the course so many times that they know just give each other some space and get around nice and clean.
Yeah, this is looking really clean. I love looking at the direction of everyone's courses, what they're taking, seeing how some people are pointing a little to the left, a little to the right. But everyone has a different strategy in mind. Getting around this second buoy is going to be really clutch because it's about a 180-degree turn, as we've said many times today. So making sure that you're starting that turn right on time is going to be really important, and we're definitely going to see some passing on the way there and possibly on that turn as well.
I absolutely agree. So we're 1,500 meters into this race here. Finlay Hamel now just really setting down a marker for himself here. He has a lead of almost 7 seconds there over Italy to Gabriele Loconsole, who was 5th last year at these World Championships. Seeing that wash there, we spoke about it earlier.
Yes.
I'd say you hate the sight of that now at this stage.
That wash. Well, there's so much more boat traffic out there, and the safety boats as well. It's coastal rowing, but a coastal, like an ocean wave, does feel a lot different than a boat wake. It definitely affects the boat in a different way. This is amazing with New Zealand 1 out there. He does not look like he's slowing down.
No, he's just opening up the gap here now over Italy 2 and Italy 1. A lot to contend with here because the waves actually aren't that big at all. It's just really messy every time that a boat passes there now.
Yes.
And they're having to contend with it. But New Zealand here now looking so in control, shortly approaching that halfway mark. I wonder, are there some rowers disappointed that they're not getting to do the 6K course? Because a lot of them would have prepared for that, of course, because that's usually what the A finals are.
Yes, it is really fun, and definitely like a 2,000 meter difference does make it a different type of race. There's different race strategies, and I think that some rowers, are better in a 6K. Some rowers are better in a 4K. So, you never really know what benefits you the most until you're out there, I guess, though.
Absolutely. So we're seeing Italy 02 here, currently in second position. Gabriele Loconsole holding on to second. He looks like to be a bit struggling a little bit, maybe. Just maybe a bit unsure of himself here now. Really looking over his shoulder every stroke pretty much there.
Well, yeah, with these cross waves crossing back and forth and just small chop, it's really hard to make sure that your boat point is staying exactly where you want it to. So especially as you're coming up on the buoy, you want to keep looking behind your shoulder to make sure that your course is exactly right so this turn can be as tight as possible.
So we're here now, second turn, as you said, like at nearly 180 degrees here. New Zealand 1 off again, leading it out. Big lead here now. Italy 02 still holding off the challenge. Italy 01 there as well. And then it's back between Finland and France and Spain. So Jolna Karinen of Finland just coming around that turn now, maybe losing a little bit of ground back and forth. No doubt he is tired too. He had the men's double final, got a bronze medal a little earlier. So, a lot of these are going to be starting to feel it now as we head into the second half of this race. Charles Cousins here now as well. He is currently back in 7th position, gone around a nice wide turn. We have Spain 03, and I think that's Chris back then on our screen as well.
Chris just took a really tight turn. He's super experienced with those, and you could definitely see it right there.
Absolutely. So most crews now making their way around that second turn. And
even you can see this big boat just like moving around so much, like it's pretty choppy out there.
It is super choppy. Every stroke they take, you can see the bow is just moving. Like there's nothing straight about these lines here at all. But with 40 meters of a lead now, this is pretty impressive there.
Yes.
New Zealand 01, Finlay Hamel, just 22 years old here, leading it out here. We have a great battle then between USA and Great Britain. So Charles Cousins is closest to us on our pictures here. Chris Back is further away. Chris holding on to his big long stroke, as we have seen. But look at this from New Zealand. This is a beautiful picture.
It is
here.
beautiful. You have to take a second away from the race to just take in the city. Genoa is super beautiful and has been such a nice place to have this regatta.
I think the clouds are adding a nice dimension to it as well.
Tint.
Yeah, but look at this now. These, I'd say, are some of the washes that are coming in from those big boats that cross. But look how messy it looks here.
It looks so messy, and you can tell even these tiny little peaks that are showing up all over the place is going to feel very inconsistent, especially this far into the race, over halfway through the race. It's going to be really, really tough to be able to hold your technique in this inconsistent of water. This is crazy.
Look at it, because you can see the wind blowing in, but then all the wash as well. It's just bit of a washing machine effect. I feel that's how we described Hong Kong back in 2019. It was a complete washing machine out there, and it's starting to look a little bit like that here now as well. So 11 seconds of a difference between first and second position. This is incredible. This is dominance here, really.
Yes.
This is what we've seen, like Adrian Miramon Quiroga has done this in the single representing Ireland over the years in Spain, but at the moment we're seeing Finlay Hamill come in and do the same thing.
Yes, and you have to hand it to Italy. Having 2 boats in the top 3 is incredible as well. That just, their program's going, oh yeah, there's a little bit of a crash here. That is tough. You only have 2 oars in the boat. If you lose one of them, it's not going to be good.
Not ideal. So Finlay Hamill there showing us how it's done, representing New Zealand rowing again. So important to look over the shoulder. You can see there for about 5 strokes he was looking over his shoulders, because this is the tricky part of the course, as you know yourself. The zigzags are coming up, that chicane, and we saw earlier in the women's solo how unlucky Diana Dimchenko was to go the wrong side of one of those turning points and missing out on a gold medal. So you'd rather look over the shoulder for 5 strokes and make sure you're going the right angle as opposed to not.
Yes, and before even getting to the course, memorizing what it is like on the map is super crucial.
So do you draw it on your leg? I see a lot of athletes do that.
I didn't bow, but my bow seat was talking about having to draw it on the leg. Yeah, with a Sharpie. Take a Sharpie, draw the map, the buoy map, of course, on the leg.
Exactly.
Look at him. He is so dominant. You're right. This is so dominant here. This is absolutely insane. And you can see his far layback. He's laying back like 50 degrees.
Yeah, big lie back here now. Very strong at the finish. We see Italy 02 here as well, still holding on to the second position. So there's 40 meters separating first and second, but then there's another pretty much 40 meters between second and third. I'm not sure we've seen such distances between the top few boats in many races, to be honest, over the years. This is dominance by New Zealand, but Italy 2 also opening up big space between themselves and Italy 1.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of shuffling around as well between 5th and 9th place. I think there's a lot of battling going on with those boats.
Yeah, I was saying it earlier, we often forget about the racing. There's often more interesting racing happening down the field, but because we're looking at the leading boats a lot, you kind of forget about them. But yes, a lot of shuffling. Is Charles Cousins, who has taken over from Chris Back in 7th position. Spain 03 is holding on to 6th. Joel Nikarinen is still holding on to 4th, but there's about 40 meters of a difference between 3rd and 4th here now. So that the race really up the top of the field, those podium places, they're really pushing away now from 4th position downwards.
Well, you also start to gain a little bit of confidence, especially as you're coming through those slalom buoys. If you can see yourself separating from people, you know that the top 3 boats are probably going to have an easier time getting a nice line, having a nice course, going from point A to point B, whereas points 6 through 8 are going to be a little bit tighter, and it's going to be harder to kind of be able to choose your own course. You're going to have to take it into account where the other boats are around you.
So another great shot here of the big ship in the background. It is so cool to see Finlay Hamill there got around his next marker buoy. He has 750 meters to go. We did see like a wave break over the shaft of his oar there a while ago. He was lucky he didn't get caught up in that, but his technique really is not faltering at all. He's just adjusting so well to whatever is being thrown at him, because obviously you're changing angles all the time on these different legs, and he's just staying solid. I don't think he's changed his technique once.
He's such a dynamic athlete. I mean, being in this type of weather, this type of conditions, you have to be. There's Joel and Charles Cousins and Chris Bach.
Yeah, Charles Cousins seems to be holding off any challenge from Chris at this stage. So Joel just going around that marker now in 4th position. He's followed in by France 01, that is Yvonne Beauvais, in that 5th position. Spain 03 then, so that is Marc Franquet Montfort. He is currently in 6th, followed in by Charles Cousins and Christopher Bach. Now, Chris will be seeing him next weekend in the Beach Sprints as well. So
That's
he
right.
has that to look forward to.
Yes.
As do a lot of them. Charles Cousins will be there as well.
Joel will be there too.
Exactly. So we're going to see them competing again next weekend. But final stages of this race here now. This is complete dominance here by New Zealand
Incredible.
rowing.
And this is very cool to see. It's very cool to be able to be here and see this. This is very cool.
This is so impressive. We're into, I would say, the final marker buoy here now, looking over the shoulder. Again, a great view here. Anyone who is on the shore can really just enjoy this race, because you can see from pretty much turning point 2 all the way back to the finish line. If you're along the shoreline in the town of Genoa, you can see the racing. But incredible stuff here now. Now, I do think David Mumolo has moved up a little bit. He has it down to about 10 meters between himself and Gabriel Lonconsole in 2nd and 3rd position. So he looks like he's putting on a bit of a push now.
We just saw Netherlands battle it out in the women's double for 2nd and 3rd, and now we're seeing the same thing with Italy.
Absolutely.
When it's your own teammate, it's hard to not be extra competitive, I think, you know?
Absolutely, and we are seeing that is Keelan Mannix in shot there a second ago, so he is still in the race, but this is 2nd and 3rd, so I'm not sure where David Mumolo came out of there. Look at this. This is incredible. There was about 40 meters between them a while ago, and he has pushed himself into 2nd position. This is the final leg of this race. At the moment, it is going to David Mumolo. Gabrielle back in 3rd now. Oh, what a finish here.
Seeing yourself on the wrong side of the wave, seeing yourself on the right side of the wave, you can see all of the speed. His speed just gained so much comparably, and yeah, claiming 2nd over 3rd in the last 300 meters of this race is crazy. It's crazy.
It's very similar to what we said, as you said, in the women's double, because Netherlands 03 were dominating in 2nd place, and Netherlands 01 just came out of nowhere on that last leg and took that silver position. But we have to hand it to Finlay Hamill of New Zealand. We saw a shot of him there a second ago, coming in the finish line, absolutely dominating this field. The coastal men's solo. Here is our champion. He is celebrating, but look at this from David Mumolo.
That space, the amount of distance between him and 2nd place is crazy. I don't know, I haven't seen that before. That's amazing.
I haven't either, but what a finish here now.
What a great time.
It is a brilliant time for a solo race.
Yeah, 3 seconds.
27.
3 seconds slower than his heat, which is nuts.
With much tougher conditions today.
So
Italy one took it. It is David Mumolo. He is very happy with himself. What a finish there. It looked set that it was going to be Gabriel Lonconsole. We thought it was in the bag for 2nd and 3rd, but things changed so quick out here.
That is wild. That is so good. That's such a fun thing to see. That's
amazing. So you can see, even as they head towards the shore here, just how choppy it is, but I'm sure they'll be jumping straight into the water to cool down after that. What a finish there. And it was France 01 who took over from Joel Nakarinen. So France 01, Ivan Bove in 4th, Joel Nakarinen in 5th. Then we had Spain 03, so Marc Franquet Montfort finished 4th last year. He's in 6th this year. This is what happens, you know?
This is what happens. And like I said before, you cannot know what's going on ahead of you with the boats ahead of you. Anything could happen. So yes, there's maybe quite a little bit of distance between some boats, but you know they're going as hard as possible all the way to that finish line.
Absolutely. And we saw Charles Cousins and Chris Bach there passing that finish line. And then the final few crews here. Coming up, seeing pictures there of Joel Nakarinen. I'm sure he'll be happy because he has his medal from earlier in the men's double. And 5th position here in the solo.
That's pretty good.
That is a very good, isn't it?
I would be pretty happy about that.
He actually finished 11th last year, would you believe? So to move from 11th up to 5th, that is pretty good in a year.
That is really good. One year can make a big difference.
Yeah. Keelan Mannix then of Ireland in that orange boat. And final few crews now.
They're close. See, they're battling it out right here.
They're still battling. They're still racing.
It's still, yes.
They don't even have to row. They're just being pushed in by the wind here, pushed in by the waves.
Yeah, look at that. Even for these last few boats.
To make an A final, though, of a World Championships is incredible. So, you know, to be in, whether it's 5th position, 14th, 18th, to be there in an A final, to have beaten so many boats already to get to this point, you know, is such an amazing achievement.
Absolutely.
And as you said, they're giving it their all right till the very end. Spain 0-1 there.
Look at that, all smiles.
All smiles. Vittorio Alberto
There's Yuri.
Ferre, Bermudez. Yuri. He ran from here earlier. He was commentating just a few races ago. Ran into his boat. He was very happy to be in an A final as well.
Yes, as he should be. It's incredible.
Yeah, so we can see the black clouds coming in over us here.
Things are looking spooky.
They are. So we have the official results of the final, the men's solo coming up. In first position, of course, dominating that field completely, Finlay Hamill of New Zealand. Then we just couldn't believe there, David Mumolo, Italy won, coming in second position. Amazing finish there by him. Gabriel Lonconsole then of Italy 2 and 3rd. Ivan Bove of France 1 and 4th. Knocking down Yolna Karanin back to 5th. And then Marc Franquet Montfort of Spain 03. Great race between Charles Cousins and Chris Back then down the field. And well done there to all rowers. You can see Maciek Jaworski there. We'll be seeing him shortly again in the mixed double. He'll be teaming up with his wife Agnieszka, who won a silver medal a while ago in the women's quad.